Hey, this is Leo for Actualized.org, and in this video, we are going to talk relationship advice. All right, so let's talk a little bit about relationships, and what I want to do in this video is give you some deep insights, some deep advice about relationships. How do you create a situation in your life where you have a deep, fulfilling, successful relationship? And what I'm gonna do in this video is gonna give you some deep wisdom, some stuff you might not want to hear. All right, this is how it actually has to happen. And I'm going to go into some of the problems and some of the reasons why people go about this completely the wrong way. And if you've been struggling to create a good, happy relationship, then it's going to become immediately obvious to you why this is. We're going to touch on the deep root causes. All right, so when I started to really study sexuality and dating and relationships, the way I started to do that was by getting involved with the pickup community. Now, people hear this and they say, oh, pickup community, pickup, that's weird. What are you doing? You're a player. This is stupid. How can you be doing this stuff? All right, so I'm going to cover that in other videos. I'm not going to get into that. That's a very, very deep topic. But what I want to say is that the reason that I actually got into pickup was because of this problem that I saw. There is a problem in society. All right, this is a problem that applies to you no matter who you are, what gender, what race, what country you're in, what age, anything. If you want a successful, intimate relationship, then you're going to have to deal with the harsh reality that we have a 40% divorce rate. At a minimum, 40% divorce rate. Not only that, but the people that still stay married, the 60% that do stay married, a large majority of them are married but miserable. And the people that get divorced or are just not even in a marriage but are simply in long-term relationships or any kind of relationship, a lot of those are dysfunctional as well. So when I see that, I tell myself, wow, okay, so clearly something is amiss here. Something is awry. And the way that people are dealing with relationships, the way they're managing their relationships, the way they're approaching them is fundamentally flawed. Can we agree on that it's fundamentally flawed if the overwhelming majority of everyone in the world is struggling with this issue and is in a dysfunctional relationship or is in a relationship that has to end in some sort of bitter divorce? Can we assume that? Well, this is why I got into pickup. Because ultimately, I didn't get into pickup for sex. That's why most people get into pickup. It's like a guy, he's young, he wants to have some sex, he wants to bang a bunch of hot girls, so he gets into pickup. That's not really why I got into pickup. I got into pickup for personal development reasons. And I got into pickup because I saw that what I wanted as a goal for myself, I said, what I really want is I want a really amazing girlfriend. I want someone that I can be really compatible with, and I want to be able to manage that in an excellent way. I want to have a relationship that's extraordinary, and that's not the kind of relationship that I see other people having. I didn't see my parents having it. I didn't see any of my friends' parents having it. I didn't see it happening in the movies. I didn't see it happening in popular cultures. I didn't see celebrities having it. So anywhere you look, you see examples of massive failure, ways not to do it. So what I said to myself is, okay, wait a minute. So if I really want to have a successful relationship, then I have to start addressing some of these problems, because clearly if I just do what other people do, I'm going to get the kind of results that they've gotten. And I am not satisfied at all with that kind of life. So for me, I said, okay, I got to do something different. So I turned to pickup. I started exploring a lot of stuff. Eventually I found pickup, got into that, learned so much. But ultimately where that was coming from was to understand. And I knew that to really master this relationship situation, to create an amazing relationship, to have a nice girlfriend, to maybe get married at one point and actually keep it happy and long lasting, the only way I could do that is if I applied massive intellect to the process, massive amounts of consciousness and practice and experience. That's the only way it can happen. And that's my relationship advice to you, is if you want a really excellent relationship, you have to start to take it very seriously. All right? I find most people take relationships very casually, in the sense that they don't study. They don't try to learn about how to actually create a successful relationship. They just assume that they're a master at it already. They just assume that they know how to love. They know what love is. They know what sex is. They know how to have sex. They know how to communicate. They know how to manage emotions. They know everything. They assume they're an expert, when in fact, they know nothing. And so this ignorance keeps them totally in the dark, and it keeps that cycle of dysfunctional and broken relationship happening again and again and again. You know, it's an interesting statistic that of the people that do get divorced, those same people, if they remarry, their chances of divorce actually increase. And that's called second divorces. So second divorces are actually more likely to happen if you've already been divorced. And actually what happens is that if you get divorced twice, the chance that you get married again and get divorced is even higher. So basically people are getting divorced and they're becoming stupider and stupider in the process. So it's not that they're getting more successful, they're getting even less successful. It's a crazy world, crazy statistic. So with that being the case, you know, you have to really teach yourself. Don't assume that you know what a good relationship is. Don't assume you know anything about relationships, because honestly, you don't. You're not born knowing how to create good relationships. That's not how it is, right? And just because you've been with a high school sweetheart or you dated a few people does not make you a relationship expert. Chances are that unless you've heavily studied relationships and sexuality, then you know very, very little about the psychology of the opposite sex. You know very little about female psychology, and you know very little about male psychology if you're the opposite sex there. Guys know very little about girls, and girls know very little about guys. And because we don't understand each other, it's very difficult to have a successful relationship. So the solution here is to study it, right? If you wanted to become an excellent golfer, what would you do? If you wanted to become a professional golfer, someone that could rival Tiger Woods, what would you do? Would you just pick up a club and start swinging away and expect to become Tiger Woods? Or would you start like cracking books and going and finding coaches and tutors to help you understand how the game works and practicing your ass off and really dedicating yourself to it, right? You would do that, right? You would commit to a path of mastery. Now, if you wanted to become an engineer, how would you become an engineer? Would you become an engineer by simply sitting at home and building little things on your, in your little workshop? Or would you start cracking open books and you would spend years learning physics and chemistry and mathematics and advanced calculus, and then going and getting a degree in engineering, and then maybe getting a master's degree in engineering, and then going and doing an internship at an engineering company and learning the whole process of how engineering works, and then actually getting a job as a certified engineer, right? Which one of those is a better path towards mastering engineering, right? It's the second. It's the mastery process, right? The path of mastery. You're not going to get good by just assuming you're already a good engineer or a good golfer. And likewise with a relationship, if you want to be good in a relationship, you have to study. You have to study sexuality. You have to study the opposite sex's psychology. You have to study your own psychology. You have to study the problems that are common in relationships, all the common pitfalls. You have to work deeply on yourself to start to fix all the potential hang-ups that could sabotage your relationship. And this is ultimately my advice for you, is start to look at your relationship as something that's very serious, something that you're going to master, something that you're going to really study, apply a lot of conscious effort to. And ultimately, the way that you're going to fix your relationship is by fixing yourself. You cannot control the other person. This is one of the things you're going to learn when you start to study the psychology of other people, is that you're going to learn that controlling other people is a huge waste of time, and it's not going to work. The only thing you can control is yourself. The only thing you can change is your own psychology. And if you keep getting into dysfunctional relationships and they keep failing, it's not because other people are bad. It's because your psychology is sabotaging you. So you have to commit to personal development. That's what I did. That's why I got into pickup. Pickup, actually, if you start to do pickup correctly, there's a lot of methods of doing pickup that is incorrect, and I don't advocate. But if you start doing it correctly, what you're going to do is you're going to do a lot of deep inner personal development work, because you have to. What you realize after you go out and you try a couple of pickup lines, little gimmicks, is you realize that actually women don't respond to that, and you're not going to get laid from that. The only way that you're going to get laid and then get a relationship and potentially a marriage, the only way that's going to happen is if you start to work on yourself. So if you're coming from a place where you're very deficient, like I was with women and with dating, you don't understand anything and you can't get a date to save your life, then you have to admit to yourself, well, damn it, I don't really know enough. I'm not confident. I'm not doing things correctly. I'm screwing something up in the process. And when you realize that, then you say, oh, okay, so there's something wrong with me. I have to go and start to fix and start to improve my understanding. And so that's what I did, is I went through a long, grueling 2-year process, and I'm still going through it, of increasing my understanding and direct experience with the opposite sex. And all of that ultimately came back to me. It was about improving me. To get into a better relationship, to get a better quality girl, to get a better quality man, the way that you do that is by working on yourself. Personal development, that's all you need. You don't need anything else. You need knowledge and understanding of relationships, and then you need to work on yourself. Here's what you should work on. You should work on the following things. Number 1 is you should work on your sexual abundance. You have to be abundant. You cannot be in scarcity mode and be in a successful relationship. So that means that if you're super needy and you have no options with the opposite sex at all, and you just happen to get lucky one day, and one day some guy or some girl comes up to you and you strike up a conversation, you two fall madly in love, that might seem like, oh, you got saved. Actually, you didn't get saved at all, because your neediness, the lack of abundance that you have, is going to manifest and is going to creep into that relationship, and it's going to totally destroy it. No chance in hell at all. That's stuff that you see in movies, those romantic comedies where just two people bump into each other, and maybe you have some like desperate girl or some desperate guy, and then they bump into each other, and their life is just this beautiful romance. Never ever going to happen in real life. In real life, what happens is that when you've got a desperate guy or a desperate girl, they come together, what happens is that desperation, it seeks in there and it toxifies the relationship, and it basically completely destroys it. That's why you need to have abundance. You need to have options. You cannot be in scarcity. You can't be in a successful relationship all the while fearing that if that person leaves you, then you're fucked. Or not fucked, as the case may be. You cannot maintain a successful relationship like that. It's too much pressure. That pressure will kill you. It will destroy the relationship. So you have to create abundance. Work on yourself to create that abundance. You can do that by going out and socializing more, building a bigger social circle, doing pickup, going to bars and clubs, whatever. There's a million different ways. I'm not going to get into all that here. The next thing is finances. Get your finances in order. Get your career in order. Get your business in order. I think the number 2 reason, I was looking at the statistics, the number 2 reason that people get divorced is because of financial difficulties, financial problems. Finance creates a lot of tension in a relationship. If you are strapped for money, or the other person is strapped for money, or you cannot handle your money, or you waste it too frivolously, or you're too stingy with it, and the other person is too, deal breaker. The relationship is going to end. It's going to be very, very miserable. So you want to make sure that you have a good understanding of money, good grasp of your financial situation. You can handle your money well so that you're not dysfunctional in that area of your life. Many ways to do that I won't cover here. Next is your health. You need to take care of your health. That means nutrition and fitness. Nutrition and gym, right? Whether you're a guy or a girl, this applies to you. If you have bad health, it's gonna start to sabotage your relationship as well, in all sorts of ways. If you're a woman, it's gonna become problematic because guys are very visually oriented, and if you start to let your health slide, then guy just might simply leave you. If you're a guy and you start to let your health deteriorate, well, I mean, there's all sorts of different problems that start to come up with that. You start to get low energy. All of a sudden, you can't do exciting stuff anymore with your girl. And then what happens is that you basically start to distance from each other, and she loses attraction for you, or some sort of other tensions are created because of health, lack of fitness, and lack of proper nutrition. So that's one you have to look out for. And the other stuff is the psychology. You have to start to work on your psychology. You have to really take a look at any kind of limiting beliefs or any kind of serious psychological hang-ups that you have, because those are going to get amplified in a relationship tenfold. It's going to totally blow up the relationship if, for example, you have anxiety, if you have anger problems, if you have childhood issues, if you have severe irrational, paranoia, obsessive compulsive disorder, any kind of neurotic behavior. Basically, when you're with somebody and you're with them for a long time, that neurotic behavior starts to manifest itself in so many nasty ways that it toxifies that relationship, makes it impossible to have one. So So those are some of the areas in your life, and there are probably more. I'm not going to cover all of them here. These are some of the pillars that you got to cover to maintain a healthy relationship. So this is ultimately my advice to you. Do personal development. Take relationships very seriously and put the burden of responsibility on yourself. It's not luck that's going to create a good relationship. There are no lucky good relationships. It's not going to happen by luck. It's not just going to magically happen, and you're not an expert unless you've studied this stuff and you've really analyzed all this stuff and done a lot of introspection. And even if you have done all that, and you yourself have no personal self-control, if you're anxious, if you're prone to anger, childhood issues, you're bad with your finances, you have no other options, you're neurotic in all sorts of different ways, man, it's impossible. The best person in the world, Jesus Christ himself, if he was resurrected and was in a relationship with you, he could not make it work. All right, so you have to realize that. Realize that. It's so important. So this is the core fundamental of relationship advice, right? It's not a little trick. It's not some little technique. It's not something you read in Cosmo magazine. This is it. This is the deep wisdom. Now, this also means that you have to do a lot of work, right? The amount of work that I've put into understanding the opposite sex is obscene. It would literally disgust you to know everything that I've done to do it. I've literally bled for it. I've literally invested hundreds of hours studying. I've invested thousands of hours in the field practicing this stuff, doing it, and I'm still not at the level that I feel I need to be at to maintain a successful relationship. So it takes a lot. But you know what? If relationships are important to you, if you really value that in your life, if you think that you need love and companionship and you want that to work out, well, then this is what you got to do. Then it's worth it, right? You're not going to get something of true value for nothing. The things that are really worthwhile in life, you have to put a little bit of effort into. You have to put a little bit of consciousness into. You have to commit to some sort of mastery process. And that's what I'm encouraging you to do with your relationships. All right, this is Leo signing off. That's what I have to say about relationships. Go ahead, post me your comments down below. I'd love to hear what you guys think about this. This issue especially is very fascinating to me. And go ahead and like this and share it. Click the like button right now if you did. And then, of course, come check out Actualized.org. Sign up to my newsletter. I release new videos, new articles, other goodies every single week, all for free. I'm releasing that stuff because I want to help you get on track with your dreams. What I found is that to create an extraordinary life, whether it's with relationships or money or fitness or health or your career or anything, to do that, you need to really get on board and become a hobbyist of personal development, start to master your own psychology, and the best way to do that is to keep yourself on track in a steady way. Don't just watch one video. One video is not going to fix you. It's not really going to change your life. But through a gradual process of watching a video every other week or watching a few videos here and there, going out, taking some action, doing some exercises, that kind of process can create an extraordinary level of quality in life multiplied over months and years. So that's really what I want you to kind of buy into. So go ahead and sign up with Actualized.org because we make it very easy to stay on track with your dreams.